Hey, help support the show by joining the Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. Also hit that like button to subscribe if you want more Cavs-focused content.
You know, there's a team in Cleveland that might win a championship this year. Yeah, I don't know. Has Cleveland figured this one out? You know, there's a team in Cleveland that might win a championship this year. It ain't the Guardians. Much as it pains me, I don't think it's going to be the Browns, you know. But it could be the Cleveland Cavaliers. And you guys know, whenever it's time to talk about the Cavs and I have an opportunity to bring on this guest, I always bring him on. Tony Pesta in the building today. See any good movies lately, Tony? I know you're a big movie guy.
It's been a crazy summer for movies. I've seen,
Yes.
I think I was looking at I have the Regal Unlimited pass and they sent you like an email. I think I've seen like 25 movies or something this year. So I've been crushing it. I think Superman's my favorite. Does the Regal
Unlimited pass give you a discount on these tickets?
Well, so it's like not to, just hit you with an ad right away, but it's like $20 a month and you can just see as many movies as you want. So as long as you see like 2 movies, as long as you see 2, you're getting your money's worth. So
it's like
that's why I've just been killing it. Yeah, it's basically just a movie pass. So I've been going basically every week. And I would say, I think Superman's still my number one in the summer. That movie was a blast. Really, I'm not even a big Superman fan before this, but
I actually watched that movie and finally understood why people like Superman. I was like, oh,
same.
He has a character.
Yeah,
because I've watched the Zack Snyder ones, and I'm like, I just don't understand the appeal of this character. There is
no hate to the Zack Snyder fans, but I wasn't a big fan of that iteration of Superman. I hadn't seen the older movies, but this one I was like, all right, I get it now. This is fun. I like this. I'm excited to see where it goes. But my summer's just been full of movies.
Yeah, look, Tony might not send hate. I don't. I'm not. I hate the Zack Snyder movies.
That's bold, man. He's got a crazy fan base on Twitter. That's all because my algorithm is just full of the Zack Snyder bots.
Brother,
now.
Do you see what I live with on a day-to-day basis?
True. Yeah. I mean, if you can make it through, Cleveland sports fans, then I think you're ready for anything.
We rolled into Shador, Baker Mayfield fans. What do you think I'm worried about the Snyderverse? Like, what you gonna say to me?
That's a good point.
Said? Like, the movies are shitty. I'm sorry. Even the Watchmen movie, everybody raves about. It's a bad Watchmen movie. I'm sorry. It's not good. It's not good.
I actually never saw that one. The DC universe, I've been slacking. I've seen the Batman movies. The other ones just haven't interested me.
Yeah, I saw the first Superman movie, and that's the one people said was good. And I remember being like, "Yeah, I think I'm out." That one took me.
Man of Steel,
the Suicide Squad, the first one.
That one was garbage. I saw that one.
A lot of people. Yeah. I never even got there. I saw the first Superman movie, and they were like, "This is going to be what the DCEU's all all." Oh, this shit. Boring and moody.
He
killed a guy. Like, I'm good.
Good. I need whimsical Superman. I don't want the stoic brooding. Like, leave that to Batman. Let Batman be the dark and like brooding one. I want Superman to be goofy and whimsical.
Well, it's just like, it's got to be a variety, like even with Batman, you can't have the whole damn movie racial. Like, it's like you gotta have some jokes in there, some levity, some wholesomeness, something else other than just brooding. It's not for me. Even when they joke about it, like it's made for like 14-year-old boys, and I'm like, what 14-year-old boys are they talking about? I watched that shit when I was 14. I didn't like it.
Yeah, same. No, I watched that first Superman movie when I was probably either I forget when that came out, but I was a teenager, very young, and I was like, this didn't really do it for me. So I don't know.
That shit ain't hit to me. But our dislike of Zack Snyder movies aside, we got a lot to talk about with the Cavaliers. Really a lot to talk about with the East, because it is fascinating what has happened in the East. The East went from, oh my God, like, it's a dungeon, it's a hellscape basically for the Cavs, right? The Celtics, to basically collapsing in on itself, and the Cavs are standing around in the rubble like, oh, we're still intact. We're the only team that's left intact. I mean, them and the New York Knicks. What do you make of this offseason? What's going on in the East? And the fact that nobody really in the East made a big move for it. Like Atlanta made a move to be like the 9 seed to maybe the 4 seed.
Yeah.
But nobody has made an aggressive leap at trying to take what looks like to be a two-horse race between Cleveland and the New York Knicks. And do you think anybody else enters that race?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because this is something that we've talked about for like the last 2 years, kind of when we talked about the Cavs and whether or not you want to blow up the core four or anything. And what we just kept saying is like, hey, sometimes stability is just important. Sometimes it's good to just be a stable, good team. And every once in a while, that championship window will open. And right now, you look across the Eastern Conference and it's like, okay, Boston suffered a catastrophic injury and then they basically blew up their roster this summer. Indiana, who kind of came out of nowhere in the playoffs as a contender, they suffered a catastrophic injury. Now they're probably off the board. New York is good. I think they're probably going to be right in the race with Cleveland for the top 1 or 2 seed there. But there's no Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference anymore. There's no team where I'm looking at and I'm like, yeah, they're definitely better than the Cavs. It would take a lot of things to go right for us to beat them. You're looking at this and it's like, because Cleveland stayed the course and it's just, relied on stability and running it back, they're going to probably be the best team in the Eastern Conference next year, barring any injuries. Like I would assume they're going to be the 1 seed again. And outside of them, it is interesting. Like if any team was going to make a huge splash in the summer and try to go all in, this would have been the year to do it because the Eastern Conference looks so open. But nobody really made a big move. Like you said, I think maybe the most desperate or like biggest move we saw was Milwaukee waiving Damian Lillard and then trading for Miles Turner. But does Miles Turner put you over the top? Probably not. I think it's going to be a 2-team race between Cleveland and New York. And then the other teams that I would keep an eye on is maybe Orlando makes a leap. Maybe they get interesting with Desmond Bane. Maybe Atlanta's a little bit better than we expected. But again, do I think any team is going to emerge as like a Boston Celtics potential championship winner outside of Cleveland or New York? I don't really see it. And so right now, if you're a Cavs fan, this is why you stay banked on the core four developing, because if they continue to take steps forward and they enter this season just a little bit better than last year and they stay healthy, like you said at the top, they could win a championship this year. I'm not saying that they're the favorites, but I think they could definitely win a championship this year. And that's something that doesn't happen every year. And Cleveland sports fans should know that because it feels like it's been forever since we had teams consistently as good as the Cavs right now.
Yeah, and somebody brought this up. Like in sports in general, we get really wrapped up in narrative, right? And that's natural. That's how it's all presented. But sometimes the narrative is not really what's driving what's going on, right? Oftentimes the narrative is more of something that we make up after the fact than something that actually drives what's going on. And somebody brought this up with Peyton Manning, where they're like, oh, well, Peyton Manning, he struggled in the playoffs for so long, and then he finally broke through in whatever year, and that turned the corner for him. But then you look at the playoff that he had, he was actually pretty bad in that playoff. It's just when you keep having shots at getting to a championship and winning it, you have a better chance to win the championship, right? Because what really needs to go down is that shit needs to go right for you. Mm-hmm. And the Cavs, the issue that they have had isn't really that I don't think that this team is not talented enough to get over the hump. I know people have made up that the idea that this like, oh, this Cavs team has no mental fortitude or they don't have that it factor to win a championship. But that's all shit we make up after somebody wins a championship, right? Like Jokic didn't have it until he had it, right? Like, Jordan didn't have it until he had it. LeBron did not have it until he had it, right? Like all of a sudden he wins a championship, he develops the fortitude to do it, or maybe going to the finals all the time helps you win championships, right? So all this other stuff that people kind of bring up to why it will prohibit the Cavs to win a championship, every team to ever win a championship has done that before they've won the championship. Well, after they've done the championship, it's been awarded to them. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the same thing with Cleveland. They just need to keep getting shots at it and just hope that it goes right? They're not so good of a team that they can will their way to a championship. And I think that's what's disappointing to some people is that they can't will themselves to a championship. And I get that. We're used to LeBron. LeBron could will you to a championship or get you pretty damn close. Hell, he almost got a game on the 2017 Warriors with like Rodney Hood as the second scorer. Like, yeah, that stuff only LeBron can do. But the idea that this team is incapable of doing it, I mean, even if we look at Oklahoma City, they're not unbeatable. The Pacers took them to 7. Yeah. I thought they had played their best basketball in the series against the Knicks. I didn't think they were playing their best basketball against Oklahoma City, and they were their hottest when they played Cleveland.
Yeah.
So if the Pacers could take them to 7, and that's no disrespect to the Pacers, I thought they played great basketball in the playoffs, obviously, right? They ruined our season. But you as a Cavs fan, or the Cavs as a team, should not be looking at themselves like we're so far away from being what the Pacers could be. Like, you're better than the Pacers talent-wise, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that they're more than capable of doing that. And a lot of that is going to hinge on somebody we're going to spend the bulk of the video talking about, Mr. Evan Mobley. This is a big year for Evan, Tony. What in reality, right? Like we're sitting at the end of the year. You close your eyes and you say, I feel good about Evan Mobley finally making this leap because he has these accolades to his name by the end of the season. You close your eyes, you think of that season for Evan Mobley. What pops up to you? Because I think it's different for almost everybody.
Yeah. And so first off, like you said, I think this is a Cavs team that can win a championship. It's a little different because I don't think they're a team that necessarily, like, when you have LeBron on your team, you're a team that should win the championship, right? You're like, we should win this every year when we have LeBron. This Cavs team, it's like, well, they could win it, but I don't necessarily think that they're the favorite. And so when we think about Evan Mobley, right now it's interesting because, and I'm very optimistic about Evan Mobley. I'm very confident in him, just to be clear before I say this, but for being 100% for real, right now, Evan Mobley is just a one-time All-Star, one-time All-NBA player. The question is he going to be, one of those guys who he just makes All-NBA every season that he's healthy for the next 10 years now? Mm-hmm. Or was last season kind of a situation where, the Cavs won 64 games. Mobley was pretty good throughout the entire thing, so he got rewarded, right? Because the difference between Mobley being an All-NBA lock for the rest of his career or just him being a guy who makes the All-Star team every once in a while, that decides a whole lot for the Cavs. And so where I would feel most confident for Evan Mobley, just talking regular season accolades, if he's an all-star again and another like all-NBA lock, which basically means you're a top 10 to 15 player in the NBA, I'd be feeling pretty good about him moving forward. Now, everyone wants to see playoff success. We all understand that. Everyone, as we build up to the season, and I'm sure we're going to hear it all throughout the regular season, everyone's going to keep saying regular season doesn't matter. And I totally understand what they mean by that. I agree with it to a certain extent. But look, anyone who says that they didn't have fun last season is lying. First off, you might be pissed off about the way the playoffs went, and that's fair. Mm-hmm. We're all upset. But you definitely had fun when they won 64 games, right? And if they win 60 games again, you're going to enjoy it. Because look, if the Cavs win, let's say the Cavs win 62 games this season, you're going to feel a lot better about them than if they had only won 52 games. Because the regular season, while people say it doesn't matter, what they really mean when you say the regular season doesn't matter is that you want to see postseason success, right? You want to see them do it in the playoffs. And those two things, despite what the narrative sometimes is, those aren't mutually exclusive, right? Pretty much every team that wins the championship was pretty damn good in the regular season too. So if you're good in the regular season, it's not perfect, but it's a pretty good, it gives you a pretty good indicator of how good you're going to be in the playoffs. And so for Evan Mobley, if he comes out killing it in the regular season again, and he's like a no-brainer all-star and a lock for first or second team All-NBA, then I'm going to feel pretty good about him going into the playoffs. And then from there, I mean, yeah, we said it already. We want to see them compete for a championship, whether that's actually winning it or just making a deep playoff run for the first time, because we're 3-4 years into this now and they haven't got out of the second round. So I need to see him get to the conference finals. I need to see him take over a playoff series or at least a couple games for me to feel really good about this. But yeah, that's where I'm feeling about Evan Mobley. Still very confident and optimistic, but he does got to show some things. He showed a lot last year, but he's got to continue to show these things.
Yeah, saying the regular season like flat out doesn't matter is like saying, well, going to the doctors doesn't matter because I'm not dead. Like you might want to find out how you're doing though.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
yeah.
You might want to know if you're in good health, right? Like, because you're not going to get to the playoffs unless you have a good regular season, first off. You're not going to be in a good position in the playoffs unless you win a lot in the regular season. So it certainly does matter. It's not everything, right?
Exactly.
And
yeah.
we have a hard time with this. I'm going to go on a millennial rant here. We have a hard time with this these days, accepting that something means something, but not everything, right? Because like all the arguments online are, this either means nothing or this means everything. Sometimes shit just kind of means a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
It's not winning the NBA finals if you win 60 games in the regular season, but hey, it's a good sign. It's not a guarantee that you're going to get to the conference finals or the NBA finals, but it puts you in solid company, right? Maybe it builds your confidence, whatever it is, right? But I promise you, Donovan Mitchell not going to be happy with a 45-win season just because, like, well, we made it to the playoffs and that's all that matters. Like, no, that's cope. That's straight up cope at that point. Because if you are a 45-win team, you won 60 games last year, there was some dog shit basketball played in between that year that is horrifically concerning. Again, it's like not going to the doctor. It's like, hey, bro, you might got something wrong with you. You need to get that checked out. Maybe you should get that examined by somebody, right? So, yeah, the regular season does matter. And what Evan does in the regular season is going to be very important. Obviously, you do want to see that translate into postseason success. The Evan Mobley takeover of a series, I mean, like, if that happens, I'm going to be...
That's all I want in life.
Yeah, like, if that happens, let it be, like, in the second round, too. Like, not because first-round series, people act like that doesn't matter anymore, too. But, but it's like... I need that unless we're like the 4-5, which I hope to God we're not the 4-5.
Yeah, I mean, that would be, this is the thing that I said earlier, right? Like, people keep saying the regular season doesn't matter, but I'm going to say it all year. If the Cavs are the 4 seed again, you're going to be pissed off. There's no reason. We should not be happy if they're the 4 seed. You're going to feel, at the very least, you're going to feel okay if they're the 1 seed, right? If you're like the most negative fan, you'll be like, all right, we're the 1 seed. I don't really have much to complain about. If they're the 4 seed, everyone's going to be pissed off.
Well, Tony, if they're the 1 seed, here's how the bar is going to work, right? If the Cavs are the 1 or 2, if the Cavs are the 1 seed again, and they replicate the same amount of wins or more, I don't really care, bro. They won a bunch of games last year. And they lost to the Pacers, man. Talk to me after the second round, right?
Yep,
that's
exactly
going to be the prevailing attitude, right? This team still can't get it done. Jared Allen, soft. He danced the High School Musical. All this stuff brought up. They're married and happy.
How dare he? Yeah, how could Jared Allen spend the summer getting married? What does he not care about the regular season?
This team needs to deal with more adversity off the court because like everybody seems to be in pretty stable situations. I don't know, feels like a good thing, but I guess the internet's gonna internet. But yeah, if they get that 1 seed, that's gonna be the prevailing narrative. If they get the 2 or 3 seed, people are gonna freak out like, oh, we regressed. We got worse. Yeah. We're worse than we were last year, right? They're going to start maybe even cooking up a little Donovan Mitchell cooked,
Yeah,
maybe a little some Donovan
some trade
Mitchell
ideas. Yeah, it's going to get nasty.
Acting like he's the only reason the teams he's on have not been.
And that is so ridiculous, too. That's a whole nother topic.
I'm like, the brother's getting 50, dog. Like, it's not his fault.
He's the least of our concerns here, guys. Like, you can point to some criticisms, I think, of where, there's moments where maybe he plays a little too much hero ball, but that really, like, I think the most the Cavs have been burned by that form of Donovan Mitchell was against the Knicks back in 2023. I think he's grown a lot, and I think he has shown that whenever other guys show up and actually are contributing to the team, he's willing to give them the ball. And I think against Indiana, maybe, Evan Mobley definitely needed the ball more, but it didn't feel like he wasn't getting the ball because Donovan Mitchell was just playing Kobe ball or anything. Like, to a degree, Mobley also needed to get up and just demand the ball. So there's a balance there, but yeah, guys, I don't think you can't blame Donovan Mitchell for this. He has shown up every single postseason.
Here's how I'm going to measure my success for Evan Mobley. One of the key factors. I ain't having this damn conversation anymore.
Yeah.
Right. About who's giving him the ball. Is there giving him an opportunity? I think I had a lot of patience for that over the last couple of years. I think this year I don't have the patience for it anymore. I'm not going to sit here and debate. Kenny Atkinson doesn't have to get you the ball. You have to get the ball, right? Like Donovan Mitchell. It's not his job. Well, it is kind of his job, but you know, it's not his job to make sure that you want the basketball.
Exactly.
He can't do his job while trying to do that for you. At some point, Evan has to take the initiative and understand that he also deserves the ball in those situations. I think that's what has been the issue with Evan. It isn't because he's afraid of the moment. I think he's fine with the moment. He's made some big shots in big moments for this Cavs team. Shots that he's not even comfortable with. Like, there were a couple of huge threes. That's not like a shot he's been comfortable with his whole life. So I think he's fine with that, the pressure element of it. I think people misread that. I think the issue is, Evan sees himself as somebody who's playing a role at times, and his role is to get the ball. Sometimes if you are very capable, it could be selfish to not be more assertive, right? And you're doing what's comfortable because that dynamic between Darius and Donovan. But Evan needs to insert himself into that dynamic and believe that he needs to be in there, right? And that's something I trust that Kenny's going to spend a lot of time with him on during this season. But I don't want to get to the playoffs and then we're like, oh well, nobody's passing the ball to Evan. It's like, at some point, man, Evan's 7 foot tall. Like, he can get the damn ball himself. He gets half the rebounds on the fucking team.
That's if you want the ball, just get a rebound. There you go. Bring it up the floor. Like,
who's gonna out rebound you, Darius?
Yeah.
Like,
if you really want the ball, I promise you can find a way to get it.
DeAndre, like who's out rebounding you?
He's not going for the boards. You don't got to worry about that.
DeAndre letting you have that. He's sitting in the corner just hoping he get a three, or one of the little pull up hooks. Like he's cool with that. So I think Evan taking that leap for me. And I try not to be super basketball guy here, right? But I think there is some element of basketball that is just art. You need to feel that, right? You need to feel that he's a presence in the fourth quarter, that he is a part of the team. He's not Chris Bosh in this big three, right? He is more, what's a good play? He's more KG than he is Chris Bosh, right? In these kind of dynamics, good comparison. Right?
Yeah.
Like, he needs to be, in order for this team to be a championship team, right? Donovan doesn't have to change this game. You got a guy who gets you 50, awesome. You got a point guard who can facilitate and get you 40, awesome. You can win a championship with that, in my opinion. But you do need somebody who could take over the game, who has that length, the verticality, and the size that Evan has, right? Like, that's a part of it. And I think that's a huge part for this Cavs team. Now, one thing I do want to touch on, because we did just talk about him. DeAndre Hunter is going to be on this team now and carry over some continuity from last year, right? He joined at the trade deadline. How much of a difference do you think him getting that full training camp in with the Cavs, kind of just having all that run with the Cavs earlier this year, and Kenny having more time to figure out, hey, what's this guy good at? And more importantly, what can he not do? Because you trade for a guy at the deadline, you're like, oh, I hope he could do this. I hope he could do that. I hope he could do this. And then you found out there's some stuff that DeAndre's just not going to do. Right? There are some lineups you cannot rely on DeAndre doing this for you, or else it's going to be a disaster. And you can build your roster around that. How much do you think that's going to help a guy like DeAndre Hunter, especially since the Cavs don't have Ty Jerome anymore?
Yeah, I mean, like, you would assume, because of everything that you just laid out, because he was a trade deadline pickup, because the Cavs and Kenny Atkinson didn't have a lot of time to figure out where he fits, that he would only be better this year. Now, I don't know exactly how much better. I'm not expecting like a huge leap, but you would assume that the fit is just going to be a little bit more natural, because you've had all summer, you're going to have a training camp, and you're going to have time to experiment at the start of the regular season too, to figure out where does he fit best, what lineups can we use him in. Because one of the main criticisms that I think, even, I think Kenny Atkinson did a great job last year, but one area that I criticized him the most was it didn't feel like he experimented with DeAndre Hunter as much as I would have liked down the stretch of the second half of the season, mainly being like, can this guy start next to the core forward? Because this is what you've been looking for years now, right? Like, you've been needing a true small forward. Can DeAndre Hunter fit in that lineup, or is it just not going to work? We didn't really find out, because he barely played any possessions with the core four. I forget what the number is, but I feel like it was less than 100 possessions or something. He barely played with the starting lineup. And so that's something we're going to need the answer to, because on paper, that makes the most sense. And so that's what I'm going to be most interested in seeing. The other thing too is, like you mentioned, what can he not do? so far it seems like, and we already kind of mentioned this, but so far it just seems like he is not going to rebound the ball. No matter how many times you ask him to do it, it's just not happening. Every lineup with him was just horrible on the defensive glass. And so maybe with a full summer and training camp and everything to work on it, but that just kind of seems like, not to be pessimistic, rebounding just kind of seems like a thing you don't need to learn how to do that. You already know how to do that.
Yeah. That's look, it's pickup 101. Somebody who, like, when you get to the pickup court and somebody get all the rebounds, it ain't because you don't know how to get them.
Yeah, right? No, you just gotta want to
get them, right? Like, that dude really wants them rebounds. It's a want-to thing, right? At the end of the day, and DeAndre, that's not how he would like to get paid.
Yeah, not how he operates.
He is not on the Kawhi Leonard program, right? Board man, don't get paid. No, he don't.
He doesn't need it. He doesn't care.
The three-man does get paid.
That's what he wants to do. He wants to spot up. He wants to shoot threes, and so that's actually what would be interesting. He's not trying to
lose that extra 15 feet, right? Like,
he's trying to get down the court and get ready to spot up, but. That would be interesting if he does get into the starting lineup, because like one thing that we've said about Max Strus, I love Max Strus. I think he's very good on this team. He does a lot of things, but he's just never been as good of a 3-point shooter as you want him to be, right? Like, he's solid. He can get hot, but he's just not, like, you want that 40% 3-point shooter who can catch and shoot and spot up next to the core four. And Max Strus, while he's been great in some cases, and he's been really good in that starting lineup regardless, especially, playing out of position really. But if DeAndre Hunter is shooting 40% off the catch and shoot next to Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, like, that's just a perfect fit. So I really hope we find out how well that could work. The one issue with that, though, is, and you mentioned we don't have Ty Jerome anymore, I'm a little bit worried about the scoring off the bench. I think it's a case where maybe it could, in the regular season, it could hurt them. But then when you get to the playoffs and you have a more defense-oriented bench and, you're playing only 8 guys or whatever, maybe your ceiling's actually higher in the postseason. But in the regular season, we kind of mentioned it could look like they regressed a little bit at times. I don't really expect them to come out and start 15-0 and win 64 games. I expect they could be high 50s, maybe even get into the 60s again. But because the bench is a little, I don't want to say it's thinner, but it just doesn't have the firepower that it did last year, losing Ty Jerome. And if you start DeAndre Hunter, then you lose even more scoring off the bench. So I'm going to be interested to see how that plays out too. And obviously where they decide to put DeAndre Hunter is going to make a big difference there, because if he's your sixth man,
Lonzo Ball minutes not moving you.
If they play any minutes, I don't know. That's the problem. It's something like, how many minutes are they going to play? They could be hurt and miss most of the regular season. But yeah, it's just going to be, the bench is going to be really interesting to me, because I do think that was one of their biggest strengths last year, was the fact that just Ty Jerome could come in and give you 20 on any given night. If it wasn't him in the second half of the year, it was DeAndre Hunter. There was always someone stepping up. Now I'm a little bit worried about that. I don't think it's going to be as potent as it was. But again, in the postseason, maybe their ceiling's higher, because Lonzo Ball, everything that we're hoping and projecting is that he's going to be a better 16-game player than an 82-game player. But we'll have to find out.
Yeah, that's why I don't think the record's going to be as good as it was last year. One, I think there's going to be a understanding of like, hey, we got to make sure stuff's right for the postseason. I would think that they're going to try, because they're in such a situation where, I mean, like, honest to God, I think 55 wins might do you the 1 seed this year.
It might not take that many, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, 57 is like pretty solid lock here for the 1 seed. So maybe they feel like there's a little bit more freedom to, try stuff out. And last year, while you were trying to establish yourself, going on these long win streaks helped establish you and establish a confidence in what you were doing, where that's not necessary anymore, right? If there's confidence in what they're doing, or at least there should be. I'm kind of worried about that because it did break down in the Indy series. But there should be confidence in what you're doing. You don't really have to worry about building that. So, you can lose an extra game here or there because you want to try something out versus your heated rival, the Hornets. So, yeah, I think there's a lot to consider there. The last thing I'm going to ask you, because I think we talked a lot about the players that need to grow and learn from last year and develop. Kenny Atkinson was the first-year coach last year for the Cleveland Cavaliers. His first real playoff series, right? Like, I think he was in like the 1-8 against like, was it KD in the Nets or something like that? Like the two, it was. I think it was. He was on the Nets.
Oh no,
right?
No. Yeah. I think they played Philadelphia. It was the D'Angelo Russell Nets, and they played Philly, I believe.
Yes.
And I don't remember if they got swept or not, but yeah, it was like they had no chance of winning.
That was the game where I realized that Jared Allen was not a big man.
yeah, that's a tough matchup for Jared,
Joel Embiid in his prime.
Especially younger Jared against prime Joel. Yeah, that was
bad. I remember being like, he's getting his ass beat consistently. Now he's gotten stronger since then, but Joel at that time was just alone. But Kenny, there were it felt like he hit a wall going up against Rick Carlisle, right? Like Rick Carlisle kind of did him pretty dirty, right, in that playoff series by the end of it. How confident are you that there's something that he's learned there? And what do you think you want Kenny to learn from that experience, right? Because I think there's a lot, like the whole, the 3-2, sticking with the 3-2 a little bit too long. That's probably a lesson there, right? Some of these lineups he ran in the playoffs. I think there's some lessons to be learned there, but what did you take away?
Yeah, I mean, it's always the case with coaches where it's just like you got to learn what adjustments to make, when to, like you mentioned with the zone, when to get off of a certain thing that you loved all regular season and realize, hey, this isn't working in the playoffs. So I think this is kind of true for Kenny and the entire roster, honestly, but someone who's more cynical about the Cavs could make this argument that last regular season could be a little fluky. I'm not necessarily saying that, but we talked about it all year. It felt like everything went right for the Cavs in the regular season last year. It was like there was some magic in the air. Everything felt perfectly into place. They had the number one offense, one of the best offenses in league history. The defense wasn't as good as we wanted, but it was still like top 10. It just, everything about last season felt magical. Felt like Kenny Atkinson could literally do nothing wrong with his rotations, with the lineups. Like anything he did worked. And so my question is going to be this year, can he recreate that, or at least most of that? Or, well, first off, can he recreate that and can he carry it over to the playoffs is going to be the big thing. But, the question that some people, like I said, more cynical might have is, was last year fluky in terms of they just got crazy hot from the 3-point line for much of the regular season, and then they fell apart when things got tough? I think Kenny Atkinson and the entire roster kind of has to prove that, no, we can find other ways to win. I think this team in the JB era showed that they could win by grinding it out and playing defense first basketball. But Kenny Atkinson's got to prove that he can bring that side out of them too, because right now it's felt like last season, it was all offense and the defense was a little bit of a concern. And that's what we saw against Indiana. They couldn't get stops. And when the offense, when the 3-point shots stopped falling, felt like they didn't have a game plan. Kenny Atkinson's going to have a game plan. He's going to have to find different ways to win. He's going to have to find where to pivot. And a big part of that, tying this all back to Evan Mobley, a big part of it is just Evan Mobley stepping up, right? I think one of the main things that you could look for with Evan Mobley this year isn't just his points per game or his usage or how many touches he's getting or anything. More specifically, it's going to be, does he recognize when it's his time to take over a game, right? I think of that Kings game last year where I forget how many points he ended with, but he went on that heater in the third quarter, if you remember what I'm talking about, where he hit like multiple threes, and for like 5 minutes straight, he was just scoring every point.
You talking about one he had like 40 in the first half or something like that? We thought he was going to go Will Chamberlain, and he ended the game with 45 points.
And so that's the situation where it's like, okay, maybe it's not going to be a game-to-game basis where Mobley's getting the ball all the time, but he has to, everyone on the team, but especially Mobley himself, has to understand when it's his night, when he's got it going, when other guys don't have it going, and it's his turn to step up and demand the ball. That's going to be a big thing. And I think extending this to Kenny Atkinson, he's also got to understand it too. Like, hey, Mobley's cooking right now. The 3-point shots aren't falling. We're going to start running things through Evan Mobley more often. And it's both Mobley has to demand the ball and Kenny's got to put him in the position to get it. But I think that's going to be one of the biggest things to watch for, both with Kenny and with Evan Mobley. Isn't just the points per game or his touches or anything like that. It's, does he understand when it's his time to take over games? And are we going to start to see the games where Evan Mobley has 30, 40 points and the Cavs, like we've said before, maybe they lose a game where Evan Mobley's the one unloading the clip? Because every single time the Cavs lose one of those games, it feels like it's Donovan Mitchell who's taking 30 shots or Darius Garland who's taking 30 shots. I want to see Evan Mobley take 20 to 30 shots in a game and see if he can single-handedly will the Cavs to a victory. Because overall, I think that's what's going to benefit them the most when you get to the playoffs, is understanding that, hey, if it's not Donovan Mitchell who's carrying us this game, maybe it's Evan Mobley, maybe it's Darius Garland. Got to see those guys step up and really mature, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's funny. You kind of want him to do that stuff the cat does that drives everybody crazy when Cat does it. But it's a little bit different here with Evan, right? Because he's not going to jack up like 45 threes, right? Like I think that's like the thing that drives people crazy the most.
More so just go to the paint, get to the rim over and over again. I don't care, how many field goal attempts it takes. Just keep punishing them down low because that's the player that we think he is.
We need to hire a strength coach that like just goes to the like end of the court where the Cavs basket is. It just says, "Get yours" to Evan every time he touches the ball.
Yeah.
We just, just a big strength coach. And then every time Evan gets a little and what, like Miles Garrett, what are you doing during the season?
Yeah.
Like once Brown's season is over, go ahead and help the Cavs out. We need you to hold that down. We can hire him technically as like the guy who does the little broom thing. That guy doesn't have to. You can hire two of those guys, right?
Yeah, one of the mop boys. Yeah. Just encourage Evan Mobley every time down the court. Just remind him who he is, because that's what like sometimes it feels like you need to do.
You know what? We need people to build. Just call him big fella. You call somebody big fella enough, they start wanting to live up to that. All right, big fella.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy right there. We just got everyone on the team, everyone from the janitors to the people in the concessions. Just if you see Evan Mobley, you got to call him big fella.
Big Mob. Big Mo.
There you go.
Big Mo.
Everyone working in the Cavs organization. Anyone at Rocket Mortgage Field.
Because you know what? It sounds stupid, but in the fourth quarter, stupid wins. And what I mean by that is, what Evan gonna be thinking? He been called Big Mob all year. Fourth quarter, end of the game, he about to get a rebound. And he's like, "Hey man, Big Mob got to get this rebound." Like
yeah,
I can't be Big Mob if I don't get the rebound. Like,
I'm pretty sure there was someone like saw Evan Mobley out in public this year, and they recorded a video. They're like, "Evan, can you win MVP this year?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And it's like, that's what you need. You just need to like let it, because he just seems like that type of person. He's like, "Oh yeah, you know what? Sure, I can do that."
Never really thought about it, but now that you say
it, so that's what we got to do. Just positive reinforcement.
Just come on, Big Mob. And then when he not be a Big Mob, you need to be like, "What happened to Big Mob? I thought you was Big Mo," because now he got pride in it. He's like, "I ain't Big Mo no more. I need to." He gonna be in the gym. I'm telling you, it works. Like, but it's really stuff like that with Evan, right? Because it's not the talent, it's not the capability to do it. It's not even him demonstrating that this is something that he can do. He's done all of that, right? Like, we're talking about a player who's like, it's like, you ever have a computer update and it's like sitting at 99% for 10 minutes, and you're like, "Come on."
Yeah.
Restart the damn computer, pop up the Apple screen so I can get back to my day. That's where this feels like with Evan right now. Is like he had 99. We've seen the jumper. We've seen the threes. We've seen him go at the hoop. We've seen him get a game-winning bucket on Isaiah Hartenstein against the presumptive, the champs now, right? The Oklahoma City. They're actually champs. It's wild to say. But the champs, right? They beat the champs with Evan Mobley on their best big defensively. We've seen him do it. All I need you to do is know that you're that guy. That's it. That's it.
It's important to keep in mind, like we talk about it all the time, but he just turned 24 too. So like, it's not making an excuse for him, but it's more so just like, hey, this could be just shoes that he's growing into right now. And, we've already seen the All-NBA leap. It's not insane to say that one more step forward is in the books here. Maybe it's this year. Hopefully it's this year, right? Because I think this is, like, as you mentioned at the top, probably their best chance to win the Eastern Conference. So if Evan Mobley does fill those shoes, then you're looking at a team that by the time you get to the postseason, you could be feeling like they're the favorite to win the championship. At the very least, they should be in a position where they can win the championship, like we said. But Evan Mobley, he's already made the big leap. Now you just, like you said, it's that last 1% of everything just clicking and putting it all together. And that's going to be the big question that he's got to answer, is because right now at the top, I mentioned he's a one-time All-Star, one-time All-NBA player. Is that going to be something that is he going to be a perennial All-NBA player now? Or was last season just a little bit of everything falling into place at the right time? That's going to be the difference maker here.
You said Evan Mobley is what, 23 years old?
I think he just turned 24 in the summer.
24. But he's in what, his fourth, going on to his fifth year, right?
I think so, yeah. Because he was drafted 2021.
Just to put this in perspective, right? Not even comparing these two players. But LeBron didn't really get that switch turned on until his 5th playoff, I think, right? Was that was the Detroit series, the one he won. That was his 4th year, right? Where that switch flipped for him. Now, Evan's not LeBron, so you don't expect him to get LeBron took that switch at 22, dude.
Yeah, the fact that you said that was his 4th playoff, I was thinking like, oh, okay, like I was thinking season, Miami maybe or something. But then 4th season, okay, yeah. Yes. But I mean, he put it together so quickly, LeBron. Like it's unreal.
And even then, people acted like it took too long, which is wild to think about because the man did it in year 4.
But he scored 27 straight points.
So if Evan, right, like I think he's at a similar point to where he's gonna have to have that moment, right? Like because we had the stuff with LeBron where LeBron was like passing and a little passive, and people made it to be too big of a deal. But there was some truth to like, hey, why are you passing the ball to Drew Gooden right now, dog? Like he's not. I promise you, whatever shot he gets is not better than you. Like, I don't care how open he is. So there is some of that. And obviously Evans, I think the difficulty with Evan was LeBron was legitimately playing with guys who there was no excuse to pass the ball to. There was no excuse for him to take over with, right? Which forced this thing to be earlier. It's a lot different. When it's Evan Mobley and then there's Donovan Mitchell.
And Donovan's got 40 and you're like, we need you to get the ball. Get out of that guy's hands. We need you to shoot.
You got Darius Garland, who's been a bucket since you've entered the league, right? Like, and he's got that game that basketball players like really, really appreciate. It's a lot harder to make this step and believe that you're worthy of it when you're playing with guys who are also worthy of it, right? It's a lot easier to say, I should have the ball and not feel selfish about it when you're clearly the best player on the team.
Yeah.
We're not at that point with Evan. And Evan's amazing. It's just there's some other great players on this team, and that takes a little while, right? We saw this with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, right? Where it's like, it took him a little while to figure that out. But I think that's the big thing with Evan. He has to kind of, I don't even think accept it is the right word. He has to
just embrace it.
Yeah,
he's got to embrace the fact that he's not the best player on the team, but he's the most important.
Well, he might be the best player. Like if he starts to,
best all around player. He's not the best scorer, which I think is the thing that makes it tricky.
To say best player oftentimes is the guy who could score the most points. But like if I'd argue Evan's been getting you like a consistent 20 and 10. And he's one of the best defensive players in the world. That might be your best player overall.
That's what makes it so tricky. Right. It's like people just real quickly, like I think the Cavs could win the championship with Donovan Mitchell being their leading scorer. But if they're going to win the championship, Mobley has to be their best player, which is kind of what we just mentioned. It's like that doesn't necessarily mean he's scoring the most points. Because I think Donovan Mitchell, he's a bucket. He's proven he can give you a lot of points in the playoffs. Evan Mobley's just also got to kind of put himself into that mix where, maybe he didn't have as many points as Donovan Mitchell, but he impacted the game in every single facet and was the best player on the floor.
Jokic Murray kind of like deal, right? Except for like, I think Donovan Mitchell's a lot better than Jamal Murray. But it's kind of like a similar deal where it's like, he could get some of these like points and you're like, that like Donovan Mitchell's really good, but also Evan needs to be part of it, right? It
needs to be a genuine conversation. We can't just walk away being like, well, Donovan was incredible, but felt like no one else showed up. They can't do that again.
I also want to say this. I think it's a misnomer that there's not room for Evan to do this already in the team. This idea that you have to get rid of Darius Garland to make that happen. I don't think the issue is that there's not a lot of room. When I watch this Cavs team in crunch time, I see a lot of room for other guys to step up. Hell, we've seen it. We're like Max Strus takes 10 shots, right? Like in the fourth quarter, right? There's clearly room for these guys to step up because you never really get Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland are both shooting the shit out the ball in the fourth quarter at the same time. It's one or the other. But even if that's happening, there's room for other stuff to go down. I mean, I watch the Timberwolves and like Anthony Edwards. He'll shoot the ball a million times. There's still room for Julius Randle to impact the game at the end offensively. So, like, I think that's a misnomer that people have kind of run with, where it's like, oh, well, you got to get rid of Darius. You got to get rid of this player. You got to get worse so Evan could get better. And I don't think that's true. I think Evan, whether Darius is on the team or not on the team, he has to, I don't want to say embrace, because it would sound like he's running away from it. I don't think that's what's happening.
Okay.
He has to understand that he has to have it made clear to him, and he needs to, I don't know what the right word is. I gotta maybe thesaurus this shit, but he's got to get to a place where he understands that he is so good at basketball that this is his responsibility too. Right?
Yeah.
He needs to assume the responsibility.
There you go.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it right there.
The college brain finally figured it out, right?
It took us a minute, but we found it.
We worked through it, but we got it. We got the right play call in. But yeah, he needs to assume that responsibility upon himself. And I think, since he's coming to the league, and this wasn't wrong, right? I think the last 3 years, it wasn't wrong for him to say, hey, look, Donovan's got it. This is his team. I think Donovan, Darius, they need to have the conversation with Evan saying, hey, you got that max extension, dog. This is your team too now. And I think that's part of what comes with the max, right? Like, okay, you're not on the max before. You didn't do it this year. Okay, cool. You still were amazing during the regular season and during the playoffs. Now I need you to understand you have the max extension. You're a franchise player. You're no longer, fun rookie coming up. You are pivotal to this team's success, and you need to take ownership of this team and assume that responsibility now that you're one of the. Is Darius not? Darius is the max. Is Donovan not max?
No, he is. I think all three of them.
The max.
I'm not. I listen, man. I can't even pretend like I understand the cap situation. I'm pretty sure all three of them are on a max, though.
You know what I need to see? I need to go back and watch the one guy's TikTok. He puts the bar graphs.
Where he explains it. Yeah, I let other people handle that for me. I'm like, listen, it's not my money. I don't care. Just someone explain it to me, and I'll work
like
from that.
3 hours on that guy's Instagram page, on that guy's YouTube short page, being like, oh. That's what's happening.
Yeah,
I
that would make sense.
Now. This is how the second apron works. Because I've had so many people explain this second apron thing to me, and it didn't make sense until I saw the guy with the bar graph. And I'm like, the bar graph makes it make sense.
Yeah,
this
man.
Is a win.
It's too confusing. It's too much. It's not my responsibility. I'm not the one making the trade. So I'm like, whatever, I'll let other people handle it. But yeah, pretty sure they're all three on variations of the max, right? Because like Evan Mobley's like the rookie max extension, whatever it is. Donovan Mitchell, I think, has a super max. I don't even know. It's someone in the comments can correct me, but
either way, you're making a very large amount of the salary cap at this point, right? Like you are no longer being paid as somebody who was just seeing what is going to happen with, right? You are being paid as a pivotal piece. And I think that's the step that Evan needs to take. And I would love to see, like, if there's somebody who comes out with a very audacious media day, I need it to be Evan Mobley to be like, yeah, I am going to be in the MVP conversation. I like that. Is Tristan Thompson still around? I don't know. It doesn't feel like that's a thing anymore, right?
He never, we don't know. Like, there's been I think they still have, he's just an unrestricted or restricted free agent. There hasn't been any news on whether or not they're bringing him back because they still have a spot for him. They have a spot that they can fill still, but I haven't heard anything about that. I haven't heard anything about like the Imani Bates situation too, because he is still not signed with anybody. But I'm sure as training camp rolls around, we'll start finding out who they're going to fill out the rest of the roster with, and their two-way spot.
You ready for Coach Tristan?
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, he basically already is, but
that's what I'm saying.
I don't know if he
was the number 2 man on the challenge stuff, and he was really good on that.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
Like literally, that's just what Tristan's gonna do all year. Wear a suit. Yeah, challenge that.
Okay. Yeah, that seems pretty reasonable.
be the old vet in a sports movie that yells at the young protagonist that he needs to figure it out. So in game 7. When we need a big rebound and a bucket, he gets the flashback of Tristan working with him in the gym.
Yeah. Very cinematic. There you go.
And he goes, "You gotta use your elbows, big fella." And it happens in slow motion. Rebound, put back. Oh, the Cavs win right there. Like, I just wrote
Tristan,
it for you.
just looking proud. Just, you know, the
Like Reggie
yeah, there you
Miller,
go.
right? The
There's
point,
the cut
right?
right there. Yeah.
I like the hands on the hip.
Yeah.
He finally did it. The son of a bitch finally did it.
I knew
right?
he could do it.
Yeah. No doubt in my mind. Right? Evan Mobley's like, at that moment, I just thought about those days in the gym with Tristan Thompson.
Tristan Thompson throwing his elbow into me, making me into the champion I am today.
And you know what? Tristan going to tell you how to celebrate that championship. Because,
oh, yeah, he could do that.
Look, Hall of Fame celebrator. He's the LeBron James of celebrating. Like, no doubt about it. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see that leap from Evan. Always a good time having Tony on. Tony, where can people find you, man?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's always great talking Cavs. You can find me on YouTube at Tony Pesta, same app for Twitter. Getting ready for the Cavs season. It's right around the corner, so I'm going to have lots of previews and podcasts up on my channel soon. Like I said, thanks again for having me on, Quincy.
No problem, Tony. And thank you for joining. If you watch this all the way to the end, everybody have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.